Hi and welcome to this Key Learning Initiative video. Today we're working with finance and specifically simple interest, and in simple interest we're going to be working with the formula. Alright, so before we get going, please remember, if you haven't, to subscribe to my channel, to like and share the video so that more and more people can see this. Please guys, the more and more people that see this, the better for them. Our formula that we're going to be working with is A equals P 1 plus IN. Now if you've done a little bit of simple interest, you might have seen this formula before, but I'm going to be taking us right from the beginning. So our first letter is A, the total accrued amount, the principal plus the interest. In other words, it's the finishing amount. And if you remember one thing about this letter A, it's the finishing amount. How much did they get at the end of the investment? How much did they have to pay in total for the loan? Our second letter is P, and that's known as the principal amount. That is the starting amount. How much you invested at the beginning, or how much you borrowed at the beginning. The principal amount is the starting amount. The next letter, I, is the interest rate, but we have to change it to a decimal. We can't just leave it as 5%. We have to change it to 0.05. So your interest rate, we need to change to a decimal. Lastly, the letter N, which is the number of compounds. So in other words, if we're compounding it per year, then it's how many years. If we're compounding it per month, then it's how many months. So the N is the number of times that we work out the interest. So let's put this formula and use 4 different examples to see how it works. My first example. Steph borrows $35,600 to buy a car. The bank charges 6.5% simple interest per year. If Steph pays back the money after 9 years in a lump sum, calculate the amount Steph will have to pay back. Now please watch how I lay out this example, because it is a very good method. The first thing I do on the right hand side, I write down my 4 letters that I am looking for. My 4 letters of my formula. My A, which is my final, my P, which is my starting, my I, which is the interest rate, and the N is the number of compounds. In the question, they will always give you 3 bits of information, and you will have to find out the 4th one. So let's have a look at this question. Calculate the amount Steph will have to pay back. So at the end of the time, how much does he have to pay back? And so that is the final amount. And so my A is what we're looking for. The second thing is our letter P, and that is our starting amount. And so if we look at the example, it says Steph borrows $35,600 to buy the car. That is our starting amount. And so next to P, we write $35,600. The next thing we do is we've got to find our I, or our interest rate. Let's carry on reading. The bank charges 6.5% simple interest per year. Alright, so it's 6.5%, and we write that down. But remember, we have to change it to a decimal. So 6.5% is actually 0.065. Lastly, we need to find the number of compounds. Let's carry on reading. If Steph pays back the money after 9 years, that's what we want. So N, we need to find is 9 years, and so we write down 9. Now we have 3 of our values we're looking for, and we can find the 4th one. Let's write down our equation. A equals P 1 plus IN. So A is what we're looking for, and that equals P is 35,600, open bracket, 1 plus my interest rate, which I write as a decimal as 0,065, times, and my number of compounds, which is 9, close bracket. Do you see that once I've got my numbers next to my letters on the right hand side, it's so easy to fill in the formula? I would suggest as strongly as possible that you always set out the A, P, I, and N on the right hand side and get the information. Anyway, back to the question. Now we put that all in our calculator and we press equals, and we get A equal to 56,426 Rand. Let's look at example 2. Lindy borrows some money from the bank. After 4 years, she has to pay 12,500 back. If the bank charges 18% simple interest per year, how much did she borrow? Alright, again we set it out in a very similar way to example 1. On the right hand side we write our letters A, P, I, and N, and now we go looking in the question for 3 out of these 4 letters. So let's see if we can find A. After 4 years she has to pay 12,500 back. So at the end of it all, she has to pay 12,500 back, and so that is my finishing amount. So the 12,500 is my A. Now we look for P. Lindy borrows some money from the bank. So the starting amount, how much did she borrow? That's what we want. So P is what we actually want. That's what we need. Now let's see if we can find I. If the bank charged 18%, okay, well that's my I. So I equals 18%. Remember, I change it to a decimal, and so I get 0,18. Lastly, I need to look for my N. Can you see it? Hopefully you can see that it's after 4 years she has to pay back the money. Alright, so after 4 years, and next to N, we then write 4. Now we take our formula and we use it. A equals P, 1 plus IN. Well, we've got A, it's 12,500, and so we write it down, equals, my P is what I'm looking for, so I leave the letter P there, open brackets, 1 plus, my interest rate is 0,18, so I write it down, times, and N is 4, close bracket. Excellent. Next step, I now have to work out what's in my bracket. So I get 12,500 equals P, and now my bracket. I have 1 plus 0,18 times 4. Well, I do my BOD mass, so I get 0,18 times 4, and then I add that to 1, and I get 1,72, close bracket. Now I have to get the letter P by itself. So I have P times 1,72. How do I get rid of that? Let's have a look. I take my 1,72 and I divide both sides by 1,72. So 12,500 divided by 1,72 equals 7,267,44. That equals P. And that is my final answer. Lindy borrowed 7,267 Rand and 44 cents. Let's look at another example. Example 3. Tom invests 3,000 into a bank account paying simple interest. After 3 years he gets a lump sum of 4,500. What interest rate did Tom get from the bank? Okay, so we write down our 4 letters, A, P, I, and N, and now we go searching for them. So A is my final amount. So if we look through it, we find that after 3 years he gets a lump sum of 4,500. So after 3 years, so after everything's been done, and so 4,500 is my final amount. My P, my starting amount. Okay, so how much did Tom start with? Well, he started with 3,000 Rand. That's how much he invested. And so P is equal to 3,000. My I, if we read the question towards the end, what interest rate did Tom get? That's what the question wants. It wants the interest rate. Lastly, N, how many years or how many compounds did he invest the money for? Well, it's 3. And so N equals 3. Now we've got 3 out of our 4 values, and it's time to use our formula. Our formula, A equals P 1 plus IN. My A is 4,500. That equals, my P is 3,000, open brackets, 1 plus, my interest rate I don't know, so I just leave it as the letter I, times, and my N is 3, close brackets. So how do I work out I from here? Well, we have to do a little bit of equations. The first thing, we need to get rid of that 3,000 in the front of the bracket. So to do that, we divide both sides by 3,000. If I have 4,500 and I divide it by 3,000, gives me 1,5. And that equals 1 plus, and I times 3 is 3I. Now, I want to get rid of that 1 on the right hand side. To do that, I subtract 1 from both sides, and so minus 1 there and minus 1 there. 1,5 minus 1 will give me 0,5, and that equals 3I. Lastly, I don't want 3I, I want just the interest rate by itself. So to get rid of that 3 in front of the I divide both sides by 3. So 0,5 divided by 3, and 3I divided by 3. So 0,5 divided by 3 is 0,1666666, etc., which we round off to 0,1667 equals I. But now, we haven't finished yet. We have to change the decimal back into a percentage. So, how do we do that? We times our decimal by 100 to get it to a percentage. So my interest rate is 16.67%. Remember, your interest rate is always shown as a percentage. Let's look at our last example, example 4. So, Mike invests 35,000 into a bank account paying 10% simple interest per year. If he wishes to get 49,000 payout, how long will he have to wait? So how many years will he have to wait? That's what it's asking for. So we write down our 4 letters, A, P, I, and N. And now we find them. So my A, he wishes to get 49,000 payout. So my final amount is my 49,000. My starting amount, let's see, Mike invests 35,000, so that's where he's starting. And so my P is 35,000. Next we look for I, our interest rate. And so the bank account is paying 10% simple interest, and so our I is 10%. We write it down, but then we must also remember we have to change it to a decimal. So 10% as a decimal is 0,1. Then N, it asks how long do we have to wait? In other words, how long, the time, your N. So now we use our formula. A equals P 1 plus IN. Well, my A is 49,000. equals, my P is 35,000, open brackets, 1 plus, and my interest rate as a decimal is 0,1 times n, because I want to find out how long the person has to wait, close brackets. Now it works a similar way to example 3. I have to get rid of that 35,000 in front of the bracket, and so I divide both sides by 35,000. 49,000 divided by 35,000 will give us 1,4, and that equals 1 plus 0,1 times n is just 0,1 n. Next step, I need to get rid of the 1 on the right hand side, and so to do that I subtract 1 from both sides. 1,4 minus 1 will give me 0,4, and that will equal 0,1 n. Now I don't want 0,1 n, I want n by itself, and so I divide by whatever's in front of my letter. In this case I divide both sides by 0,1. Then 0,4 divided by 0,1 will give me 4 equals n. In other words, Mike's going to have to wait for 4 years if he wants to get 49,000 out. So thank you for watching this Key Learning Initiative video on finance, where we're dealing with simple interest and we're working with the formula. Please remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If there are any questions or comments, please do leave them in the section, and remember to share and like this video so that more and more people can get the information and get the help. I hope this has been helpful. Enjoy the rest of your day.